We have Generation Life speaking to you now, and our presenters will be Joe Demibk. And Joe serves as the school coordinator for Generation Life. He was born and raised in Northeast Philadelphia and attended Roman Catholic High School at the University of Pennsylvania. Joe is passionate about working with students and spreading the joy of the gospel as shown by his involvement with various youth groups over the years and the Penn Newman Catholic Center. Joe is continuing his education by earning a master's degree in school counseling and enjoys hiking, baseball, and the beach. And Joe, I'm so happy you're entering the minefield of school counseling.
Yeah.
Because especially in the secular world, they really need the truth.
Yeah.
And this is Stephanie Spinosa. Stephanie's graduated from the University of Pennsylvania in May of 2018, so congratulations.
Just this past May, yep.
Yeah. And for the bachelor's degree in nursing, wow, good. Need Catholic nurses too.
Yes.
God bless you. She was an active member of the Penn Newman Catholic community, a community which enlivened her faith and encourages her to live it out more fully on a secular campus. Stephanie traveled to Peru and El Salvador during her college years to serve the poor and marginalized. As a nurse, she strives to compassionately serve all her patients and their families. In every population she has encountered, whether in the mountains of South America or the hospitals of Philadelphia, there is the same dire need to defend the dignity of life. Stephanie is excited to partner with Generation Life today to promote this message of human dignity through the lens of chastity. So, we give you Joe.
All right, thank you for your introduction, Walt. So, really happy to be here in Downingtown, St. Joe's for this talk. We came all the way from Philadelphia to give it. It's been a really good day so far. Quick show of hands. How many of you guys are in high school? A couple? Any seniors in the room? Oh, congrats, you're almost done. One more year. For you guys in grade school, anybody 8th grade? 7th grade? Congrats. You're almost done. Almost done your next stage. So, we should start this as we start all good things with prayer. In the name of the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen. Lord, thank you for the gift of today. Please open up our minds and our hearts to hear your word today and hear your speaking into our souls. We ask this in the name of your mother. Hail Mary, full of grace, the Lord is with thee. Blessed art thou among women, and blessed is the fruit of thy womb, Jesus. Holy Mary, Mother of God, pray for us sinners, now and at the hour of our death. Amen. Saint Joseph,
Pray for us. Son, Holy Spirit, amen.
All right, so we've already been introduced. So just another show of hands. Have you ever heard of Generation Life before? Okay, a couple people. Cool. So Gen Life, we're a dynamic movement of young people committing to spread the pro-life and chastity messages to other young people. We've been around since 2001, and since then we've spoken to over 100,000 students in the area. And the agenda today is the chastity message. So we're going to talk about what is chastity and how we can live it out in our lives as grade school, high school, college students. So.
And wait 1 second. A couple people came in after the introduction. So my name's Stephanie, and this is Joe. Joe works for Generation Life, and I'm a nurse. And we're just here to talk today about chastity.
Right.
Awesome.
So, yeah.
Quick question, are you guys connected by any chance with the Culture Project or Love and Responsibility in Philadelphia?
Love and Responsibility, no. Culture Project is, we used to be affiliated with them. They're on a missionary model, we're on an employee model. So same message, just different tactics, basically.
Nice.
Yeah.
All right.
So, getting right to it. So what comes to mind when I say the words chastity? And don't all jump at once.
Padre Pio right there.
Yeah, there's a Padre Pio talk coming up next. So if you're wondering why we don't talk about it, it's because somebody else is talking. But chastity, simply put, is sexual self-control. It's saving the gift of sex with the gift and the sacrament of marriage.
And our sexual desires are good in nature because they come from God. But Joe and I certainly don't have to tell you guys that our culture doesn't always treat sex as something sacred. It doesn't always portray it as a holy gift that God created it to be. So who here has ever been watching TV or a movie with your parents maybe when a very uncomfortable scene comes on?
Gets awkward
Right?
real fast.
This is not an ideal situation. You don't know whether to go to the bathroom or just sit there and avoid eye contact. And the whole point of why I bring this up is that discomfort alone should tell us that something isn't quite right.
Right, but our culture wants to tell us that sex is casual and it's no big deal, so do what you want, with who you want, whenever you want. And the culture can make us think that if we want safe sex for marriage, it's like prudish or we're being weird or something like that.
But in reality, sex is the total giving of oneself to another. It's not just connection of two bodies, it's total union, body and soul, with another person. And we are all daughters and sons of God, so we have inherent dignity and worth. And we believe that sex is such an intimate and beautiful gift that it's only meant to be shared between a man and a woman within the sacrament of marriage. Having sex with someone is saying that you love them so much that you want to create another person just like them, a son or a daughter to raise with them for the rest of your life. So that level of commitment and love is only found between a married couple.
Right, so that's like a really powerful sentiment. Having sex with someone is saying that you love them so much, you want to create life with them. That's a big deal.
So you may have been wondering. And yes, Joe and I are dating.
Surprise.
Joe and I met in college, so since we've started dating, he's always been incredibly respectful and a true gentleman to me in big ways and small ways. I love Joe, and I would love to have more people on this earth like him, which is one of the many reasons why I want to marry him one day. But we're not there yet, we're still dating, right? So I've made the decision to save myself for my future spouse, to save sex for that one person who I choose to love fully in marriage and to raise a family with.
Right, so Stephanie and I were dating and we're practicing chastity, but you're never going to hear us say it's easy, because it can be difficult. It requires some sacrifice in the moment, but in the long run, it leads to a greater, more complete love. And that's not all, because who here needs a little bit more patience? Like patience at home, patience at school, patience with our siblings, yeah, like everybody. Who here needs a little more like self-control? Because like I see chocolate covered pretzels, that's my thing. They're gone in like a day, tops. Or like who needs a little more like selflessness? Who needs to think of others a little bit more in their lives? Oh, definitely all of us, right? And chastity teaches us those virtues of self-control, selflessness, patience. And those are the virtues that build the foundation of a strong marriage. You can start practicing them today. So how do I live chastely? Like my little testimony as a 22-year-old guy? Well, it can be difficult, like I said. Nobody taught me how to be in a relationship. No one taught me how to be a good boyfriend. So you learn through mistake and trial and error. And one of the things that I found that helps us, calls me to love better in chastity is just the urge to have more creative dates and more fun things to do with Stephanie. So a year ago, I think it was like our 6-month anniversary sort of thing, I planned a surprise game night at my apartment for Stephanie. So we had to have a fun night in with our friends. And more recently, I planned to do an escape room, one of those like 1-hour puzzle rooms in the city, and then do a nice dinner. But I didn't tell Stephanie any of that. All I told her is wear some sneakers and wear a cute outfit. And I just took her out. There's those little displays of love and affection that chastity calls us to, because chastity calls me to self-sacrifice. Chastity calls me to true love. Chastity calls me to train for marriage before I'm even married. Can I tell the airport story?
Sure.
Okay, so last month she was moving her sister into college in Florida. So she flew down with her parents, and she was flying up earlier, so she needed a ride back. And she lives in Levittown, which is near Trenton, so she's flying back to the Trenton airport at like 7 o'clock on a Thursday, so she asked me to pick her up. I live in Philly, so I was like, all right, I'll drive up like in the evening after dinner and stuff. So the week goes by, and she calls me on Wednesday night, and she says, hey, like the weather's great here, thank you so much for picking me up tomorrow, but I need you to do me a favor. I need you to pick up my dog Fluff from the kennel on Thursday before they close at like 4 o'clock.
Fluff's about 4 pounds. She's like a little Pomeranian dog.
Yeah, but me and Fluff are tight, so I'm like, yeah, of course, I'll go pick up Fluff. So right after work on Thursday, I drive up to Levittown, I pick up the Fluff, I drop her off at the Spinosa household, and I get a call from Stephanie. So I'm thinking, okay, she's about to get on the plane, so I'll just drive up to the airport in 2 hours. And I'm like, hey, so you're getting on the plane now, right? And she's like, no, my flight got delayed by 2.5 hours. Sorry about that. So I'm like, oh, that sucks, but yeah, of course, I'll be there, 2.5 hours, no problem. So, we passed the time, ate some dinner, watched some TV with Fluff, we're just hanging out. And I got another call from Steph at like 7 o'clock. So I'm like, hey, you going on the plane now? And she's like, yeah, look, I made a mistake. I'm not flying into Trenton, I'm actually flying into Philadelphia. And you guys know, like Trenton's like up here, and then Philly's down here, and then the Philly airport's like all the way down here. So it went from like a 10-minute drive from her house to like an hour plus drive. But all I said was, yeah, of course I'll be there. See you at 9:30. Because that's what love calls us to do. That's true love. It's being flexible and being understanding. and always doing what's best for the person you love.
So with all of this information that we've shared with you guys today, we want to be totally upfront and honest. Joe and I are normal 22-year-olds, so this isn't easy, and we have the same hormones and temptations as everyone else.
Right, so like, we're definitely attracted to each other. I'm attracted to Stephanie's body, but I don't just love her for her body. I love her for everything. I love her smile, her sense of humor. I love her for her compassion. She's a nurse. She takes care of people every day. I love her for her whole person.
And I know we only have a couple girls in the room, but I just wanted to talk with you guys today specifically because I think as girls and as young women, we can get so wrapped up in some of those superficial things, like how many likes we get on Instagram or how we look or how we dress. And for a lot of girls, you know, the number on a scale. But at the end of the day, we have to ask ourselves, do we want a guy who's worried about those things? Do we want a guy who's dating us only for our bodies? Or do we want a guy who respects us and honors us, who loves us for our inner beauty, and who reminds us that we are daughters of God? And I find that chastity can give us that. Another thing that's super important for us all to remember as well is that girls struggle with chastity too. It's not just a problem that boys face. And I think it's something that we need to be more open in talking about. I know that I certainly struggle with chastity at times, and I'm the one up here giving this talk. But I find that in my own experience, I can be pretty insecure about myself and insecure about my body. So I crave a physical connection with Joe as affirmation that he loves me. But I know the bottom line is that's not what love is. That's not what love is at all. Sexual intimacy should never be used to grasp at love or to grasp at self-esteem, because sexual intimacy is all about giving and receiving. Love is all about giving and receiving. It's never about taking.
Right. So it also helps in other aspects of a relationship, like communication. Like that was something I struggled with, especially early in our relationship. Like when it came to having difficult conversations, or like when we got into disagreements, I didn't know how to talk about it. So I would either like try to initiate physically just to avoid the conversation entirely, or I'd be like really passive and just kind of like shut down and not say anything. So that was something that we struggled with, but then we were able to talk about it, and she gave me an acronym from nursing, SBAR, S-B-A-R. It's silly, but it's situation, background,
Assessment and recommendation.
And recommendation. So it's just like, that helped my brain help us have those conversations, helping be a better communicator. That made our relationship stronger.
Yeah, practicing chastity helps you find better ways to communicate, as well as I feel like it's helped us grow into more mature young adults. And again, it helps us work on those weaknesses and insecurities that we find in ourselves in a lot healthier ways. In addition, I think in our culture there is a ton of anxiety around sex. There's a lot of pressure. Who's having sex? Am I ready? When should I engage in that type of relationship with my boyfriend or girlfriend? Am I ready? If we have sex, does that mean we're going to stay together? Does he love me? What is she going to tell her friends about it? All of that uncertainty and pressure and anxiety goes away when you first make a lifelong commitment to your spouse in marriage before engaging in that type of relationship. And on the flip side here, there might be a couple of you in the room who are thinking, I'm not worried about any of this stuff at all. I'm not even thinking about dating yet. Like, is that a problem? And to that we say that's totally fine, totally normal, because we're all on different paths with different timelines, especially when it comes to dating and relationships.
Absolutely. Another thing to keep in mind, that chastity is a virtue. What are some other virtues, like some examples you hear about? Yeah. Patience, perfect example. Or courage, honesty, yeah. Humility, all great examples. And these virtues, patience, courage, humility, they look different based on your job. So like patience and humility for a soldier might look a lot different than patience and humility for a teacher, for example. So in the same way, chastity is a virtue that's applied to our sexuality. And chastity looks different based on our vocation. So whether we're single, married, or called to a religious life. And I don't see many wedding rings, like maybe just ones, just one here. And I definitely don't see any robes or habits. There's no priest in here. So
Not yet.
I'm just going to focus.
Not yet?
Not
Are you a
yet.
seminarian?
No, but I'm not.
Oh, okay.
Not yet.
I'm like, congratulations.
But right now, I think most of us in the room are living the single vocation. So you guys and us. Because by single, what we mean is not married. So that means whether you're dating somebody or you're not dating somebody. So, building off of that. Anybody in here go to a single-sex high school or grade school? Oh, yeah? Where you going?
I go to Oakcrest, Indiana, Virginia.
Oh, you're coming from far. Welcome. Happy here.
Wow.
So around here, there's some like Devon or Malvern Prep or
Devin.
Devon, nice. So a couple of guys have that experience. We had that experience too in Philadelphia. And we bring that up because when you're in a single-sex education environment, sometimes you're like really, you don't know anyone on the opposite sex, and you get worried that you're not going to find anybody. And I was in that boat. And I was worried like, oh, I spent all this mental energy worrying if I'm ever going to find somebody. And I really didn't have to. I wish I spent more time worrying about building myself up and working on myself.
So we bring this up because there are certainly ways as single people that we can live chastely and that we can grow in this virtue while single. And even if you're not thinking about dating or marriage at all right now, like Joe said, this is the time where you can work on yourself to become the best version of you.
So, building off of that point, we're going to get to 3 tips, 3 practical questions you can ask yourself in a few years' time or whatever when you decide you're ready to start dating. So, here we're going to go. Here's 1 of 3. Pay attention. We're going to ask you about them later. There will be a quiz. So, question 1. Am I the type of person that I would want to date? Am I the type of person that I would want to date? Because so often we're thinking like, oh, I need to find somebody, I need to find the right person. But to find the right person, become the right person. Work on yourself, work on your interests. You can do that, especially by chasing after God and not chasing after a boyfriend or a girlfriend. Chase after God, and after a little while running, look around and see who's running with you. Because you want someone to be interested in you, you yourself must first become interesting. And building off that line of, am I the person I would want to date? Am I the type of person I want to date? You gotta ask yourself questions like, am I mature enough to handle the responsibility of someone else's wants and needs and hopes and dreams? Am I selfless enough to put that other person's wants and needs before my own? And am I brave enough to give honesty to another person and to accept their honesty in return?
And this might seem like a totally impossible task or goal for yourselves, but when you're single, especially when you're in grade school, and a lot of you guys are in high school, you can work on these virtues and in developing yourself by simply doing what you're doing right now. So being a good student, studying hard, surrounding yourself with good friends, developing maybe a stronger prayer life. If you don't pray at all, maybe start praying 5 minutes a day. Doing those small things are how you become the best version of yourself. I met Joe when I was 18, our freshman year of college, which was not that long ago. It was only 4 years ago. But when we first met, all I knew about Joe was that he liked Bruce Springsteen and Batman, because he wore this like goofy Batman t-shirt everywhere. And he wore this Jeff cap, those hats that kind of, no offense, but like older people wear.
That's like me.
Yeah, so, but I found out that it used to be his grandfather, so I knew that family must be really important to him. Joe was also a lot quieter than I was, which in real life is not that difficult, but I noticed that he was always listening to the people around him. He was always engaged in a conversation with someone. Like if he was talking with you, you were the only person in the room. And so just based off these little things that I knew about him, I was interested, and he wasn't flirting with me or trying to take me out on a date. He was just being himself, and I wanted to learn more about him and become his friend. So I say all this because Joe didn't even realize it, but during his single years, through grade school, through high school, he had formed himself into a very interesting guy that I was interested in dating. So that was question number 1. Am I the type of person I would want to date? The second question you should ask yourself is, am I ready to date right now?
And if I asked myself this question in 7th grade, the answer would have been no. Because, quick story, who's ever been asked on Dare, and Dare to do something? Okay, yeah, all of us have been Dare, and usually it's like not a good idea at the time, So this guy in my class just dared me to ask a girl out, so I had to do it then. And she said yes, and I said, oh snap, what do I do now? Because I didn't know how to talk to girls even. It's like a girlfriend, how often do you take it out? How often do you feed it? I don't know any of that stuff. And so we broke up a month later because I didn't know how to handle a relationship. So if you asked me in 7th grade, am I ready to date right now? The answer would have been no way.
And if you're unsure whether or not you're ready to date at this time, some things that you could ask yourself are, do I put myself in situations where it's difficult to be chaste? We're not going to get into much of this today because we don't have a lot of time, but a lot of people do struggle with masturbation and pornography, and if that's something that you're struggling with, 1, you're not alone, but 2, it might be a good idea to work on that and to pray about it and to reach out for some advice from good friends or people that you trust before your heart can be fully available and ready for an authentic relationship. Another thing that you can consider is, do I surround myself with good friends? People who will hold me accountable if I do start a dating relationship. And lastly, this probably applies to most of us in the room, is do I have the time and the energy to be dedicated to a relationship? Many of us are running around doing 1,000,001 things, whether it's homework, sports, school, music, clubs, you name it. And like I said, Joe and I met freshman year of college, but we didn't start dating until we were juniors. I was so stressed out in college that I could not and did not have the mental energy or the mental space to put someone else's needs before my own. So I just knew, even if I was interested in Joe, I wasn't ready at that time to start dating.
Right, so that was all about question 2. Am I ready to date right now? So moving on to question number 3. Question number 3 is, does this person bring me closer to God? Does this person make me a better person? Because I think sometimes people just rush into dating relationships hoping the other person can help complete them or tell them who they are. And that's not how it works. The other person's not there to solve your eternal questions like that. But the opposite is how it should be. We should be giving our full selves as a gift to the other person. Now I'm not saying you need to be perfect to start dating, because that was true. None of us would be dating, right? But we can't go to another person and expect them to solve all our problems or answer all of our questions about ourselves. So part of that is we have to ask ourselves, why am I interested in this person? So guys, are we interested because she's really, really cute? Or is it because she's a genuine, warm, selfless person? And ladies, are you interested in a guy because he's the captain of the soccer team? Or are you interested in him because he's genuinely selfless and will make sacrifices for you?
So this question that Joe raised, why am I really interested in the person, helps us determine whether our desires in wanting to date someone are rooted in love or lust.
And there's a big difference there. So love is wanting the best for the beloved. It's always choosing their good above all. Love is always asking, what can I give to the other person? Lust, on the other hand, is asking, what can I take from the other person? Especially from the body. Lust is asking, what can I take from them? And lust is our sexual desires twisted, gone wrong. And I heard a story about a girl who went on a date, first date, goes out the door, guy picks her up, and then 20 minutes later she's back home and she's bawling her eyes out. So her mom's like, hey, what happened? She told the story. She got in the car with this guy, and as soon as she got in the car and sat down, he's making all these sexual jokes with the stuff they could be doing. And she's like, oh, this is really, really uncomfortable. I should say something. So she did. She said, no, I'm sorry, I practice chastity. And so this guy was, he didn't get it, so he was like, that's okay, there's plenty of other stuff we can do. So it didn't go all the way through, and she's like, no, this is really awkward, and I really should make it more clear. So she said, no, you don't understand, I practice chastity, so I respect my body, God, my future spouse. And then he finally understood what she was saying, and he asked her, so you mean I'm not getting anything tonight? And she's like, no, you're not. And so this guy turns the car around, drops her off at her house, and just drove off. She never saw the guy again. And really, thank God for that. Because she could have gave it to him for a couple weeks, a couple months, all the time wondering, does he really love me? Is he in this for the right reasons? But instead, she kept her standards as high as heaven, and she applied the love test. Take sex out of the relationship and see what's left. And I just want to say that what Stephanie and I have is not lust, it's love. So We both care about the other person. We want to be better people for the other person, and we want to make the other person the best person they can be. So I'm really happy to spend time with her family and her friends. I'm proud to have her as my girlfriend, and I want her to be close to the people I'm close to, so my friends, my family, and God. Because I'm not trying to get with Stephanie, I'm trying to get her to heaven.
So good. So Joe and I have been dating for about 1.5 years, and we are waiting for marriage, like we've said. And sometimes when we say that to people, they look at us funny, but we can truly say that saving sex for marriage in our relationship is teaching us how to love. And I know that Joe loves me for the right reasons because he shows me that through his actions. You know, for example, just the other day a package showed up at my house and there were 2 books in it, and it was from Joe, and he sent them to me just because he thought I might enjoy reading them. You heard the crazy airport story. A lot of those factors were out of my control. But still, I know it was an inconvenience for him, but he still showed up. He had like one of those signs with my name on it and some red roses in his hand for me. So what sets Joe apart in our relationship and from other men that I've met is how much he loves God and how he leads this relationship in a Catholic way. That makes such a difference.
And Stephanie's the same way. Just last week at work, she showed up some fresh, still warm, home-baked cookies to share with my office.
It was my first time making them.
They went really well.
Yeah.
And then, like, the other day, she met me at the gym after work to work out after a long day. And, like, what's that? And she's here giving this talk. Like, I work for Generation Life. She doesn't. So it's really commendable of her to give up her afternoon for this.
Indeed.
And it just shows how much she loves God and she's willing to put others before herself.
So we're out here today to show you that this is what chastity can look like for all of you. It makes our relationship a lot healthier and holier and happier too. But it's crucial to understand that no relationship is perfect. Joe and I don't complete each other. We aren't 2 halves to a whole. But in this relationship, we strive to bring out the best in one another. And even when we argue or disagree about things, and even when trying to remain chaste seems frustrating at times, practicing chastity reminds us that God is at the center of this relationship. He's the glue that holds us together. So everything we do should be for His glory and should point back to Him.
All right, we promised a review, so here's the quiz. What are the 3 questions you need to ask yourself before you start dating? What's question 1? Just shout out. Be not afraid.
Be the person you want to be.
Yes.
Good.
Number 2. Go ahead. Be not afraid. It's okay. Anybody?
I'm on a date right now.
Am I dating right now?
Everybody date right now.
That's the one.
There you go.
Number 3. Yes.
This person can be closer to God.
Bingo. 100% for the class. You guys can leave now.
No.
No. So I want to leave you guys with one final message, is that you are worth waiting for. So don't settle. You don't have to lower your standards because you don't think anybody's waiting for you, or you're not going to find true love otherwise, because you can't. It's not true that everyone is having sex. Keep your standards high and wait for the person that is also waiting for true love.
And again, we're normal 22-year-olds. We have the same temptations as all of you. And we don't know what you've been through already in your lives, but we know for certain that God is so merciful and that each and every one of us can start over at any time. And again, chastity is not easy. It's never going to be easy. It requires sacrifice, but we can assure you that if anything's worth fighting for or sacrificing for, it's this true, authentic love.
So thank you guys for being here. You've been a great audience. Let's close with prayer. Father, Son, Holy Spirit, amen. Lord, thank you for the blessings you heaped on us today. Please help us have a good rest of the day and reflect on your words as we go home tonight and in the coming days. And we ask this in your name, our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. Amen. Father, Son, Holy Spirit. Amen. All right, thank you guys. I know there's another talk in here, but
I'm sure you actually want to take a few questions.
yeah,
But
can
yeah,
take
we
a
were
few
going to say, if
questions.
anyone had questions, we're more than happy to chat.
We'll also be outside in the cafeteria at the Gen Life table. We have some booklets too. There's one. Yeah, if you have questions now, yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, of course. Are you guys staying for the Padre Pio?
I'm not sure.
I have no idea.
Because we can go grab, we should have brought some.
Oh,
We
we
can
should've
go
brought books.
grab a couple little booklets and we'll just bring them back for you
Yeah,
guys.
I'll be right back.
All right?